Hi, I'm Alex Hilton. I live in a Grade 2 listed house with a heat pump, underfloor heating, solar panels and batteries in the garage. So my wife and I have been big into sustainability for many years. I work in the sustainability sector and we were looking at refurbishing our house, and it seemed like renewables and sustainable heating systems was the way to go. It's clearly a bit of a daunting prospect, but we knew that that was the right thing to do, bearing in mind we were going to be replacing things like heating systems and kitchens and everything else, and we wanted to make sure we got it right first time. The biggest concern about putting in a heat pump and getting the renewables sorted was one, living in a Grade 2 listed building, there were a lot of restrictions about what we can do to the house and how we must do it. And also there's a lot of information out there that suggests that trying to retrofit a 400-year-old house is not possible. And so we were really keen to try and overcome those, but it was a bit of a scary, daunting task to find the right people to do that job. Why did I choose Custom Renewables? Well, there was a lot of work going on YouTube with Heat Geek, and Liam at the time was doing some work around a heat pump ready hot water tank, and I thought he sounds like the sort of guy that might be able to help. And he was not too far away in Banbury from where we are, and I thought, well, maybe he at least, if not able to help, will be able to point me in the right direction. And he was really game for the challenge. So Liam was great to work with, really facts-based and evidence-based, which was really reassuring, really making sure that the design was going to actually work and the evidence was there to make sure that it really would perform well. Liam was great to work with in terms of that process, and then making sure that we were getting the right kit to do the job well. And he was, really knowledgeable and able to help us and steer us to find the right equipment that would work, particularly for our setup, connecting things like the underfloor heating installers as well as the heat pump manufacturer. And it was a very, very easy job. I mean, it was cold at the time of doing the works, but it ran to time and worked really well for us, and we're really pleased to get the heat pump up and running as soon as we were able to, and it's been performing well ever since it was turned on. So having a heat pump is slightly different to a traditional gas boiler system. Particularly, there's a lot of products out there where you're optimizing radiators and all of that sort of stuff the whole time, and thinking about timing of the system and everything else like that. With the heat pump, it's always on, it manages itself. The systems that we've got in place, are checking the temperatures outside as well as the room temperatures inside, and making sure that the system is then optimized to work really well to deliver the right temperature and the comfort in the house. So that's a big change that is something that you need to get used to, particularly if you're used to tinkering with systems and making sure that you're optimizing your heating system. Since it's gone in though, we've had the Open Energy Monitor tracking information, which means that we're able to see all the different data that is coming out of the heat pump on a live basis, and that's really reassuring to be able to track performance, because people are really concerned about whether their heat pump is performing well or not. And so that's been really reassuring to be able to see that tracking over the past year, and confirm that the system, as we were hoping it was being designed, is actually performing well. But ultimately it's been a very much don't really touch it, and it's working as optimally as possible thanks to Liam and Custom Renewables work to optimize the system. What's been really interesting is that Custom Renewables have been pushing the envelope of what is seen as standard design for heat pumps, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking in some ways, knowing that Liam was designing a system that perhaps was not the way that Viessmann would typically look at a system. But I think that has been very much validated by the fact that Viessmann had done a case study on this system themselves, and it's available online to look at. And it's really pleasing to see that at the moment our heat pump is in the top 30, I think, of heat pumps across the UK, and particularly for our size of heat pump, which is one of the largest Viessmann domestic units, it's actually at the top of the list for performance across the UK. If I could give some advice to somebody, it would be make sure you get the design at the beginning done well. It's the boring bit, it's the time-consuming bit. It requires quite a lot of tweaking and optimizing, putting insulation in, making sure that you're really thinking about whether underfloor heating, for example, is necessary or helps improve performance. And getting that right at the off means that actually the installation then can go to plan and much more easily, and it potentially means that you won't be coming up against any problems later on down the line where maybe the system isn't optimized for the actual performance of the building that you're living in. We've certainly found that although the design was quite challenging initially to get the details, particularly with us being a 400-year-old building where the walls are made out of all sorts of interesting materials. We've been able to live really comfortably and happily within the house. And if anything, perhaps the heat pump is maybe even good for the fabric of the building that we're in, because it's constantly kept at a stable and warm temperature.